everybody. Welcome to actually the last episode of Lunchin with Lisa for the year 2022. And I'm excited about introducing our guest to you because I think this is the perfect show to take us into the holiday season. And as we begin to talk, you'll figure out why. I know that we've had some amazing shows in December that have all been, to me, centered around the reason for the season. And y'all know I love Christmas. So we're going to make sure it's special every time we come here, especially to celebrate Christmas. So this is kind of a goodbye until next year, but to give you something to think about during the holidays. But before we get started and I introduce you to our great guest, I wanted to actually say happy birthday to everybody who has a birthday right now. I'm not sure what season it is, because if it's not Taurus season in April, I'm kind of like not up on where we are, but happy birthday to y'all anyway. I want to say happy anniversary to everyone who's celebrating love. Y'all know I'm a mushy gushy person, so everybody who's celebrating love. I will say that Christmas is also very special to me because my husband proposed on Christmas Day. So it made it that much more special to me. So we don't play around Christmas time. It's celebration time. I don't do no work around Christmas time, but we're excited to be with you all. I also want to remind you all that Shariva is behind the scenes, but you know that we do DSM Media, where we do commercials, we do graphics, we do all kind of things to help you get set up for whether you have your own podcast or you just need some stuff for social media, even postings. We do the logos, the overlays, the flyers, and we love what we do. So please hit us up. We have a page on Facebook called DSM Media. You can see some of the work we've done, some of the clients we've worked for. But check us out if you're interested in that. We love what we do, so we love to work with you. I also wanted to remind you all, and Shariva, please, if I forget something, you know you could just throw it on up there. She knows my mind is gone. I wanted to also apologize for my voice. Y'all know it's stuff going on. So I'm sounding a little different today, but the guest and myself, Shariva behind the scenes, we all have our water or whatever right next to us to help us through. But if you're interested in being a sponsor for the show, for the month, you can also hit us up at info.dsmmedia@gmail.com. We would love to have you sponsor one of our shows. You can even sponsor a year if you want to, but hit us up and let us know how you would like to be a sponsor, and we will help you to get that done. It also allows you to promote your business and the products and the things that you have, which is what our ultimate goal is to get everybody's stuff out there and seen and heard. Anything that empowers and inspires, enlightens people, that's what we all about. I also wanted to, and we'll remind you about this again before we leave, but this Saturday we have the Hidden Treasure Awards. So I wanted to do a little promo for you real quick. But the Hidden Treasure Awards is happening this Saturday, December 17th at 6 p.m. Eventbrite has tickets for those who want to be a part of it. It's going to be a night to remember. And it's actually going to be awarding some hidden treasures in the community that are doing some amazing things. And that's why I was like, I ain't got time for all of this sickness going on, because I got things to do. I need to celebrate some hidden treasures. That's important to me. So you all please go out there and get your tickets. There's still time. It's catered. We'll have some vendors in the place. We have some wonderful performances. Corinthia Cromwell will have her saxophone doing some things for us. And Michelle Bolden Hammond is doing a couple of performances for us. We have giveaways. Y'all know I love to give away things. So y'all won't miss out on some free stuff. And let me tell you, the things that I give away, I will keep. If you don't want them, I will keep them. I don't give away nothing I wouldn't mind having for myself. So I love to give gifts away. So please make sure you check us out. We'll run a little promo to just remind you again at the end of the show. But I wanted to get right into our guests. And then as we talk, you'll see why I say this is perfect for kind of talking about, and really, I think I kind of posted about it a little bit, but just to remind people that there's a real reason for this season. And it's not about the gifts and all of those little fun things. Those are all wonderful things. But this is just a reminder about, life, and about, what it is to appreciate others in your life, and forgiveness. It's a whole lot of things that can go into this whole conversation. But I want to introduce you to our guest. He's a first timer, a newbie to Luncheon with Lisa. His name is Robert L. Stewart Jr. He is a native of Haines City, Florida. He graduated from the University of North Florida. So we're a little upset with Robert because he's sitting in 75-degree weather. And you all that are with us know that we haven't seen those numbers in a very long time. And that's why we all sound nasally and everything else, because it's cold up here. But he is from North Florida. He had obtained a Bachelor of Science degree in psychology with a minor in sociology and a minor in psychology. He has been married for over 20 years. Congratulations. That is wonderful. He's a proud father of 4 sons. Oh my goodness. 4 boys. That's a lot.
Yes.
Stories you could probably tell. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
He's a grandfather of 3 and currently resides in Port St. Lucie. Is that Lucie, Florida?
Yes, Port St. Lucie.
Yeah. He is an active member of his church, where he sits on the advisory board, serves as the CFO, and aids in the security ministry as well. Mr. Stewart is an elderly care advisor and placement specialist, as well as a licensed Florida real estate sales associate, a licensed insurance sales agent, and a Florida state licensed insurance claim adjuster. He is busy. He's also a philanthropist, gives yearly to foster care programs, and volunteers for several community outreach efforts, including the Martin County Library System's Elderly Memory Care Program and mentoring programs aimed to build, strengthen, and reestablish the male core values in family, which is very, very important. And I will say this, Robert, first of all, welcome to Luncheon with Lisa.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. My pleasure.
And I will share with you that a lot of times we get a lot of women come on. So it's kind of refreshing to have men come on and share their stories, their journeys. Because a lot of times men are like, oh, I'll watch. But it's really nice when we have someone who doesn't mind, sharing your journey. And I know you have a powerful testimony that I couldn't wait to just kind of share with the viewers. And like I said, give them something to think about. And we've had a conversation before we came on here and talked about just the importance of life, and just resilience and strength and all those things that I actually talked about in your bio. So tell us a little bit about you, and then we can actually go into some of what we talked about that we're going to share tonight.
Well, just about me, I mean, honestly, you pretty much summed it up in a nutshell. I've always just been like a person. I've always loved people. Mm-hmm. But since my wife, like every time we go somewhere, you always got you a new friend, you a new brother. But I'm like, I'd rather meet a new friend than a new enemy.
That's right.
And that's just my personality. But since the situation happened with me, it is really going, like, I want to say tenfold, but probably close to it. Is like my emotions now are more so like, I don't want to say on my sleeve, but my heart goes out to people all the time for, it's like I want to say the slightest little thing, because I just want to. I think that we're living in a world that is so lacking of love, and everybody's so hardened, and like it's cool to not care about your neighbors and about that person that you don't know, that that needs help. And it's almost like it's my part of my calling to say, no, I'm going to be different from that. Yep. Because I don't feel like that.
Right.
I feel like that is, people always say what's going on in the world, but that's it. We don't care about each other anymore. Even though our neighborhoods are not like how we grew up with, where you knew the people in their extended family and things like that. Half of us don't even know our neighbors next door. So it's easy to not care about people that you don't have any emotional connection with.
Exactly. And I wanted to give this, so let me tell you how we connected. We actually have a mutual friend, Donna.
Hmm.
Donna Marshall is Dana, and Dana, if y'all know, Dana is my editor for Dove Style Magazine. Dana is just everything to us, and Donna's her sister. And Donna, talked about Robin, your wife, and said I really needed to talk to you all, and it was something that she really wanted me to talk to you about and have you share. And then when we talked, it was like absolutely. So I wanted to do a special shout out to Donna and tell her thank you. We were talking a few minutes ago and said I think we talked for a long time. You would have thought we've known each other for years. But that's how it is when it's good conversation and it's genuine. That's how it rolls out. So shout out to Donna for making the connection. And with that, because I wanted to make sure, because I think she told me she's tuning in. But with that, I did want you, Rob, to tell us a little bit about this testimony that you have that I really think will kind of enlighten people.
Well, in 2016, I'm an avid fisherman. So April 10th, 2016, um, my cousin and I, who was my fishing partner, we used to go deep sea fishing all the time. We decided to skip church. We're gonna skip church this day and go fishing. And we drove about maybe about 20 miles south out in the ocean, about 3.5 miles out, about 20 miles south, to go fishing. And everything was fine. There was no storms or anything like that. Um, but the minute that we stopped to anchor the boat, uh, it started taking on water immediately.
Mm,
I mean, to the point to where within 30, 40 seconds, the nose of the boat was up because the back had filled up with water. So the nose of the boat was up in the air and it's flipping over now. And we
wow.
find ourselves diving into the water because you don't want to get trapped, you don't want to get trapped underneath the boat because you know you're done at that point. So we're diving all in different directions. It was myself, my cousin Fernandez, who was a couple of years older than me, and his stepfather, and Fernandez's 9-year-old son, Jaden.
Okay.
So three of my family members. Jaden is the only one that was wearing a safety vest
Okay.
at the time, because as the boat, as soon as we stopped, Fernandez was reaching inside the compartment to pull out the vest for the rest of us. And by the time he just bent down to open the door, within that time period, the boat just started filling up with water from the bottom up. There
Wow.
wasn't
No
a
time to
wasn't a
react.
wave. There was no. The weather wasn't bad. It wasn't raining. There wasn't rough water. Nothing like that. Something had happened with the integrity of the hull of the boat, and the water was just coming in like it would, like filling up from the floor like from a flood.
Wow.
And there was really nothing we could do about it. We tried to fire up the engines, but by the time he hit the switches, they were both submerged under the water, so they weren't going to
Right.
swim. We dived off of the boat, and
Let me ask you this real quick. Was there
mhm,
anybody else out in the waters with you, or you all were really out there by yourselves?
we were really out there by ourselves. We could see like shipping boats, barges that
Right.
were maybe probably 30, 40 miles off. But I mean,
Right.
it's flat water, so you can see as far as you can see.
But they're not
And
close.
then, right, no one was going to see us.
Right.
And the bottom of the boat was painted black. So once it flipped
Oh,
over,
wow.
no one was going to see you from the sky.
Right.
And because we could see vessels that were like on the shore, riding along the shore, we could see them going back and forth, but they couldn't see us.
Wow.
There was no way for them to see us. And when the boat flipped over, we Fernandez and Jaden climbed up on the bottom, which is the top now, but it was the bottom when it was right side up. And Mr. Willis and I climbed on what is called the pulpit, lo and behold.
Okay.
Um, when it was, which is that's the part that sticks off the front of the boat, where you see on all the movies, the anchor falls off the front of the boat. That little part that juts out, that's called the pulpit.
Okay.
And so once it was upside down in the water, we could climb up on that just to get our
Out of
lungs
the
or
water.
chest out of the water and be able to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And tussled with that. For the water was fine for about 2 3 hours, and then very, very light rains would roll in. I mean, just the
Okay.
slightest little shower, and the waves would just go crazy. And I mean, they're hitting you from all four sides. And me being the one that had the worst seat in the house, because I got behind Mr. Willis, which is Fernandez's stepfather,
Uh-huh.
because he was much older than me. We all had a length of rope to hold on to. So I was trying to wrap my arms around him, which would hold him to the boat, to, because I know I would have more endurance than he would have, and did that for a few hours until they were every wave that hits, your natural reaction is to gasp. So you're taking
Wow.
in salt water, and the more, and I guess God was giving me this guidance, and I was just saying, because I didn't have any survival skills on that. I mean, I've been on the water all my life, but I never had any type of survival training that said, close your mouth, close your eyes, close your ears, because you want to get the least amount of salt water. You want to ingest the least, as little as possible.
Okay.
And they would say, yeah, yeah, okay, okay. But then every few minutes I would hear them burp, which means I knew they were taking in the water still.
Okay.
And I would say it again, look, you got to, because I would cover my mouth. I would hold on the rope with one hand and cover my mouth and close my eyes, my mouth and nose, and close my eyes. Because I'm in my mind, I know if you get so much of the salt into you, your body's going to start to seize up.
Okay.
And long story short, that's exactly what happened to the three of them.
Oh
And
my.
over the next, see, it turned, the boat capsized at 8:45 a.m. and by probably 2:30, 3 o'clock, they were all gone.
Oh wow.
And so now the waves are at a point to where I can't climb back up on the pulpit anymore. So I'm doing everything I can to get raise my chest out of the water, because you can't breathe when the water's right here. You can only take short, breaths, and you can never
Actually,
just
you're teaching
really.
me some things like right now that you just don't think of because you're not in that situation.
Right,
I'm a
right,
swimmer and everything, but you're always planning for things you're prepared for. But you
right.
didn't have a life jacket on, you didn't have anything but your own strength
Nothing,
to keep you up.
nothing. And mind you, it was cold that day. It was probably about, going out, it was probably in the high 50s, but
Okay.
going out on the water, and when you're
Right.
driving along, it's cold because the
That's
wind
cold.
is hitting
Right.
you in the face. So when we stopped, I had on shorts, sweatpants, socks, shoes, a t-shirt, a long sleeves t-shirt, and a jacket and the hat. And when we had to dive from the boat, feels like we went down probably 8 or 9 feet.
Mm.
And God was just telling me something. It had to be God was just telling me, you got to strip out of these clothes. Because in my mind, we were going to wash ashore. The waves go to the shore. They're going to wash you toward the shore.
Okay.
So in my mind, I needed to get out of all these clothes in order to be able to swim.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time I got back to the surface, I only had on shorts and my t-shirt, because I figured I would be able to swim in that, because the shorts were basically like swim trunk type shorts.
Right.
And but of course that never happened. We were in the Gulf Stream, which takes you straight north, and so we were about 3.5 miles out.
Oh goodness.
So I had this false sense of security that we're going to eventually wash towards shore. And for the entirety of the time that they were still alive, Jaden was 9, but he was a very small 9-year-old. And he would stand up on the boat, and just like to give him some reassurance, and ourselves, I'd be like, Jaden, what do you see? What do you see? Because he was looking toward the shore. And
Right.
we're getting closer. We're getting closer. And even though eventually I realized that we weren't, it helped him emotionally, but at the same time, I'm saying to myself, I kind of used it to prop myself up a little bit, because I
Right.
really thought, okay, maybe we are, because I never really thought anybody was going to die. I never, that if anyone had said if you go out today, you're going to hold three people's hands while they take their last breath. Of course, I would not have gone that day. And it was it even now when it was 2016. I don't get. I really don't get a minute where it's not on my mind. I
Right.
really don't.
I could
It
imagine.
doesn't bog me down. It doesn't. I mean, I do have my moments, but I just never thought anybody was going to die. It still feels like a dream. It still feels like
Yeah, your mind won't let you go there because you're like, because that's the only way you can keep pushing to
right.
to to make it is to not, I'm not going there because we got to keep thinking about how this is going to happen. But it has to be hard to watch. I'm just thinking just to watch, each person.
Right.
And then they're all different ages and they're all family. Um, just the feeling has to be a lot to
Right.
carry.
And Mr. Willis was the first to leave, and he got to the point where he just couldn't hold on to the rope anymore. So I'm trying to hold on to the rope with my rope with one hand and hold on to him with the other one. And every time a wave would hit, it would knock me one way, knock him the other way. And then I would try to, once it was, because you only had a few seconds between each wave. It got to the point where I learned to, I would like, was trying to time him. Okay, I know I got like 6.5 seconds before the next wave hits. And I would try to swim out to him real quick and drag him back to the boat. And it got to a point where there was no, he just didn't have any strength.
Right,
So it's really me trying to, and I'm trying to wrap rope around him, all types of different things. And I could literally hear him gurgling, his last breaths as I'm trying to reach around him and grab his belt loops and flip his body over and just wasn't able to. And I don't want to go into too much detail, but
right,
it was um, it was a lot. And then Fernandez was the next to go and to watch that 9-year-old boy watch his father die, and his father saying, "Cuz, you got to save Jaden. You got to save Jaden." And I'm saying, I'll save him, knowing that I really have no control at all over the situation. Um, the range of emotions, and I can hear Jaden right now saying, "Oh my God, my daddy, oh my God, cousin Rob, my daddy. I feel like I'm gonna die. I feel like I'm gonna die." And there's really, truly nothing I could do about it because
right.
he was up on the boat, and now I'm down in the water up
And
to
he's up top,
above
right?
my chest, and I would hold the rope and then try to push him, keep pushing him up with my other hand, and I had to keep switching hands because the pressure of the water, I could literally feel the joints in my shoulder joints, like pulling apart
Oh,
because of the
wow.
pressure. And I had to keep switching arms because I'm like, my mind is telling me, my God is telling me, you don't want to blow out either arm because you're not going to be able to hold on. You're not going to be able to swim.
Well, I
Mhm.
was thinking even when you talked about the weight of the waves, I guess you don't realize how heavy the waves are,
Right.
and then if they're coming so often, then
Yeah.
your strength is being challenged usually about a second.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
And mhm.
and I'm thank you for sharing this because I know, and we talked about this to make sure, because this is a lot to process, hearing it the first time and then you having to relive that. But I know, what you shared a little bit about what it brought you to. And that's why I wanted you to kind of, share with them what kind of
Mhm.
what you went through, because I remember you saying when you first started talking about it is conversations with God through the whole thing. Um,
Mhm.
and it bringing you closer to him and just making sense of this whole thing. So I just wanted to say thank you for sharing this because, some people are not ready for that kind of thing.
You're very welcome. And I think what he blessed me with that day, because once they were all gone, because like Jayden, I revived him like 3 times. I brought him back to life literally like 3 times. Uh,
Wow.
because he was small enough to where I could put him up on the front of the bow and just kind of pump. I wasn't able to do breathe into his mouth, but I was able to do chest compressions and watch him spit the water up. And I brought him back at least 3 times. So I'm thinking in my mind that we're going to make it. At least the two of us are going to make it. And I prayed so hard. I'm like, God, if anybody's going to make it, please let Jaden make it. And that wasn't his will.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and like I said, probably 2:30, 3 o'clock that afternoon, they were all gone. So the entire rest of that night, I was out there by myself, just me and God.
Wow.
And just as dusk came, it was just about to get dark. And I said, all right, God, I said, if this is my time to go, I said, I'm not going to curse you. I'm not angry with you. At that time, my son Jackson, I think, was 12. I said, our youngest boy, I said, I'm not going to curse you. I'm not going to be angry with you. I said, but I don't think it's my time. I don't think you're going to take me for whatever reason. I said, I don't think you're going to let anybody else raise my son. And that's just how I felt,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't think they were going to die. And I surely didn't think that I was going to die. You always see in the movies that some boat comes by, and that's just what I expected.
Right.
But after a certain time during the day, after the water got more rough and everything, it got closer to the evening. I'm like, okay, nobody's coming out here tonight.
Right.
So I'm thinking we've got to do whatever we need to do to make it to the morning. And once I'd started praying out loud
Mm-hmm.
immediately once we made it back to the surface, which I usually never do. You normally pray to yourself or in your own silence. And once nightfall and I had that conversation, is the second I said, I don't think you're going to let anybody else raise my son. And I said, well, you tell me. I said, I was taught to pray to you boldly, which I really never done before, had never done before. And I said, you told me that if I believed you and accepted your son as my savior, that you would never leave me nor forsake me. And I said, I think I've done my part. Now it's your turn. You tell me what to do, and I'm going to do it. And just as plain as you and I sitting here talking right now, he said, well, if you do what I tell you to do, you're going to walk out of this water in the morning. And I never saw a face, but the voice was just as plain as yours. And I was really caught off guard because I think I told you in our conversation last night that I always, would be kind of envious of people that had these great testimonies about, oh, God spoke to me and all these things. And he had never spoken to me that I was aware of. But I always had in my head, if God spoke to me, it's going to be earth shattering, it's like going to shake the earth and all. And it was
Right.
not. It was just like talking to an old friend. And it was just that immediate. And he said, well, if you do what I tell you to do, you're going to walk out of this water in the morning. And I said, okay, well, what do you want me to do? And it was as if he was like sitting on the other end of the boat, just in distance where we could have a calm conversation. Meanwhile, the waves are going crazy, mind you. I mean, these waves are rolling in
You still
eight,
fighting
ten
the
feet.
water. Right.
Yeah, they're rolling in 8, 10 feet. And he said, stop fighting these waves. Let me save you. And people say, oh, you survived that. I said, no, I didn't survive anything. He saved me from that.
Mm.
Because there's no way I would have been able to do that on my own. And I was like, okay. And then he would say, okay, now it's dark at this point, pitch black dark. And he would say, okay, this one's coming over your right shoulder. Turn your body to the left. Get on this side of the boat, so when it hits you, it pushes you toward the boat and not away from it, so you don't have to swim back to the boat. And I would do it, and then exactly what he said would happen. And then he'd say, okay, this one's going to hit the back of the boat. It's going to split and come around the front, and they're going to hit you right in front. Put yourself right in the middle of the front, in front of the pulpit, so when it hits you, it won't pull you away from the boat so hard, so you won't use all your strength trying to hold to the boat. And exactly what he did What he told me to do, I did it, and it worked every time. And there was I was in the movies you always see that part where it's so calm they can hear themselves breathe and all, and I kept waiting for that. I kept waiting because in my mind you're like, okay, this is what happens, this is what's going to happen, and it
Think you've
never
seen
came.
this before, right?
Never came, never happened. um and I was we had seen we fished all the time. We caught
Right.
sharks, barracuda, all the dangerous fish you could think of, right in that same spot. So I know they're there.
Oh
And
goodness.
throughout the day, we would see pods of dolphins swim by. And sharks don't usually come around when there are a lot of dolphins because they
Right.
don't get along and they can't outfight the dolphins. So they generally just stay out of the way. And I felt like that was him kind of giving us some reassurance that you're going to be okay. But I honestly thought that was for all of us, but I don't know his will.
Right.
So he would say, this wave is coming from that way or this way. And there was no moon. But if I looked in that direction, I could see the crest of that wave rolling the whole way, just like it was broad daylight. And it's pitch black night.
Hmm.
Um, I kept feeling this like horrific burning in my legs. Didn't know what it was. Found out the next day it was jellyfish all throughout.
Oh.
So I was getting stung by jellyfish the whole time. But they were honestly like a blessing, believe it or not, because I didn't go to sleep. But when you get weary, it was like that shot to wake you up.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Um, and as crazy as that sounds, they were like my little alarm clocks almost. And I would able every now and then to climb up on the pulpit just long enough to catch my breath, but the anchor was still up. So the waves would slam me against the anchor, which was cutting into the backs of my thighs.
Oh.
Um, and I can't even tell you how many, probably 300-400 times that happened, to the point where my thighs were swollen to probably 2.5 times their size. And it had happened so much, they were just numb. I
Wow.
couldn't even feel the pain anymore. But I knew I had to hold on. Because in all seriousness, I thought I was going to work the next day. My mind was just like, you set a meeting, you got 5 investigators coming to your meeting tomorrow. You got to be there.
You
This
like,
has got
I got
to
things to
be
do,
over. I got
right?
to go to work tomorrow. And
It's amazing how your mind keeps you in like regular mode.
right,
Yeah.
right. And I literally had that experience where they say your life flashes before your eyes, but it wasn't like in a second. It was like throughout that whole day. I felt like every person that I've ever interacted with, I I would be letting them down if I didn't make it.
Hmm.
And that's all. And my family kept flashing before my eyes, and I'm like, Jackson's got to go to school tomorrow. Danielle's got to go to work tomorrow. Her mom's in the hospital, and all of these things that I had to do. That was really like he used as my fuel to keep me going,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, if they find me, my fat butt is gonna be strapped to this boat one way or the
You're
other.
like, I have too many reasons to stay
Exactly,
here.
exactly. And interestingly enough, prior to that, I was like, oh man, you feel like you're in this rut and things aren't going well, and all of a sudden you've got all these reasons to make it that you didn't recognize prior to.
Right.
Um, and throughout that night, I told him, I said, you have 2 things to do: deliver me from this situation and send me my angels. Because I would hear all these stories about people and teams as angels and things like that. I'm like, well, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I've been no angel all my life, or it's this perfect person or any of that type of stuff. But growing up Southern Baptist, you would hear people with all these great testimonies. And this angel spoke to me, and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, well, how come I never seen angels? What's wrong with me?
Right.
Am I that bad of a person? And it was probably about 2:30. I'm just basing it on where the moon was.
Okay.
It was probably 2:30, 3 o'clock that morning when I was at my most weary, in all honesty. It may have been a little late, maybe 3:30, 4 o'clock. These two angels appeared in front of me, one off to the far left, and two off to the far left, two off to the far right. And I honestly said to myself, I said, "Boy, you lost your mind out here tonight." And I'm just being serious and honest. And I could literally, they would fly, two would fly together, and I could hear their wings flutter, and then they would cross over. And I'm trying to say, okay, what is this? Is this some type of aircraft? I'm trying to explain it, explain it away, because I'm like, this can't be angels. It can't be. And I could see them. I could see they were like glowing. I could see like facial, what do you call it?
And some
Definition and
features and
things like
details
that.
is right.
It was just like these pleasant kind of beings that you could tell that they were there for good. And there were two on the left in the front, two on the right, and there was a bigger one on the behind me on the left that looked just like the four in the front. And then there was an even bigger one on this side that was all white, but he was probably twice the size of the one on the left. And he never crossed over. He would just go up, just kind of floated up and down. And that went on for probably maybe 2 hours.
Mm,
And I spent that whole time trying to make it be something else.
okay.
I came with every thought, because I consider myself a reasonably intelligent human being. I'm like, nah, that's not what this is. That's not what this is. And I tried to I did my best, I promise you, to dismiss it away and be like, nah, boy, you just hallucinate. You just going crazy out here because you.
With everything happening, right? Yeah.
And he said again, I heard the voice again and said, when the sun rises, you will walk out of this water. Now, mind you, I started out in 86, 87 feet deep water,
Mm-hmm.
at least. Well, I haven't touched land in 23 hours. My feet haven't touched ground in 23 hours. And the second the sun broke the horizon, I felt like something soft under my feet. I honestly thought it was like a one of the cushions or something from the boat that had ripped out or something, and maybe was underneath my feet.
Uh-huh.
Because the anchor had fallen out of the, you have the anchors in the compartment. So when the boat flipped over, one of them fell out, and I guess it had drug far enough to where it finally caught. And the anchor, I could feel the anchor chain, and I'm trying to kick it loose because I want to keep drifting north, because now I can't. I'm like, I didn't want to stop and be out in the middle of the ocean because I couldn't see ahead of me. And I don't know if people know this, but salt water takes your vision after a while.
Mm-hmm.
But now, when I should have been blind at night, I was able to see. But the second the sun came on that horizon, I felt the sand underneath my feet. But I'm like, okay, there's sandbars out here, there's oyster bars. I'm still afraid to let go because now I can't see. All I can see is silhouettes, dark and light. And I'm like, wow, is that a cushion or something? And I stood up, and I was like, oh shoot, what is going on now? Do I let go? Do I hold on?
Literally stood up?
I literally stood up. And my mind is, because I mean, we've fished those waters many times, so I'm pretty familiar with them. And I'm like, but where could I be? Because I drifted straight north. I'm trying to reason all this stuff in my head. And that right then, I'm in like a lagoon. I didn't know this at the time, but now the waves are crashing now because the water is more shallow and there are rocks underneath the water, which makes the waves not just rolling, they're crashing on me. And one flipped me from one side of the boat over to the other one. Boom. And my back hit the boat. And I'm like, my feet are on the ground, and I'm in complete disbelief. It's about maybe just below chest high, and I'm like, well, where am I? Where am I? I'm trying to, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure something out, and the boat just like gently touched me in the back, like, okay, you can walk now. And it was as soon as the sun broke the horizon, and I just started walking, and I was fine. I felt full of energy. I mean, I couldn't see anything, so I was scared about that. But I'm like, I gotta go now. It's like the boat was telling me, like, okay, it's time for you to go. And I was fine until the water got about ankle high, and I guess the adrenaline shut off, and I just
Right.
dropped.
I was getting ready to say you had to be working off of some adrenaline after
Right,
all you had been through for your body to still be moving.
right, and I just collapsed. And he said, lay here and take a break. But when the water hits your feet, you have to crawl again. Because I'm crawling at this point. And sure enough, when the water hit my feet, I will crawl a little further. I did that about 3 times. And he said, well, you're going to have to crawl until you touch dry sand. That way,
You were
I
still
know.
really out there.
Yeah, that way, you're out of the reach of the waves. And I did that until that I got to dry sand. And I ain't gonna lie, when I got to dry sand, I went to sleep, and I snorted up I was blowing out sand out of my nose for probably two
Oh my
days.
gosh.
Um, and again, I can't see. My equilibrium is all off. My muscles, everything is shot, because it's basically like I just worked out for 23 hours straight.
Right.
And I was looking for a
And
stick or
in water is a whole nother workout.
right, right, because every muscle is working.
Absolutely. That's
Right,
a
and
fight.
my hands were all ripped up, rope burns all over my hands. My hands were bleeding all over, and my legs were bleeding because there was a screw sticking out on the side of the boat. So every time I got up on the pulpit, it would cut into my calf muscles,
Mm.
and it actually shaved the flesh all the way down to the muscle.
Oh,
Um, about probably wounds probably about 4 or 5 inches tall from the middle of my knee all the way down to my calf muscle on both legs. And but I'm not feeling any of that right now,
right.
at this point. And I was trying to reach down. I'm falling all over the place. I felt like I was drunk. I was trying to find a stick or something to help me walk, because that night before I had seen lights over to the left, and I'm like, okay, I know there's civilization over this way. So when I come out of the water, I'm going to walk to the left, because I know there's building. There was something this way, so I'm trying to go that way. And mind you, there was nobody on the beach that morning. I'm like, how in the world is nobody on the beach? There's somebody out there walking a dog or riding a bike or something. Nobody on this beach. Well, it
Wow.
turns out, I found out later, it was a wildlife preserve. So people aren't allowed on that beach.
Oh, so you wouldn't have
And
found anybody there anyway.
exactly. And
Wow.
believe it or not, the spot where the boat washed up is called the House of Refuge, of all things. And it's the north end of Hope Sound Wildlife Preserve. So I just said, okay, I'm just gonna walk this way, and I started walking that way. But the wind was so strong. I mean, I'm shivering. My teeth throughout the night had been. I was so cold. My teeth were chattering so bad. I was literally trying to hold my mouth shut with my hands, because I thought my teeth were going to shatter, because I could not stop shivering. Um, Found
Your
out later
body was
I
probably
had
going into shock
hypothermia.
or something, right?
Yeah, I had hypothermia and
Yeah.
all of that. And I was trying to find somewhere to get out of the wind, so I could see there was like some little bushes, some type of little shrubs or something. And I would go and lay down behind them and try to, I don't know, get some energy or something until I could uh, get up and walk again. And then at some point I heard a little engine come by. I'm like, oh, that's a motorcycle, like a four-wheeler or something like that. But I couldn't get up fast. I was too weak to get up fast enough to get his attention. and he rode past me on the beach.
Oh.
And so I got, but what had happened is they had found the boat, and
Oh, so they started looking.
right, and my cousin's bodies had washed up on the other end. When
Oh.
I, if I had walked right, I would have walked right over all their bodies, but I went to the left, which
Oh.
made me not have to see them and deal with that part of it. So when I saw his four-wheeler tracks, I just started. I'm like, if he got on this beach somewhere down here, there's got to be a way off of this beach. And I probably walked a few hundred yards, taking breaks in between. And then I saw the news chopper fly over. The only reason I know it was a news chopper because they had a big camera thing hanging underneath it. Because my vision was starting to come back a little bit, but it was still very, very blurry. And then a few minutes later, the rescue chopper came and landed on the beach, and they airlifted me to the hospital from there, or to this parking lot, and then ambulanced me to the hospital from there. And
Wow. Yeah, and just to let everybody know, I didn't, we didn't share any details and things like that. So, because I wanted you to just share, because there's so many things I can pull from everything that happened, to you, and then from now on, I mean, this is even bigger than just a testimony. I don't know, I'm kind of speechless with this, but, um, because I'm assuming that while this is happening to you, someone's like, okay, something's wrong. What's going on? You all haven't come home. Of course, you have your 9-year-old, or you said 9-year-old
yeah,
is
he was
out.
9.
That's immediately okay. So now there's a problem because, you know,
Right.
grown men maybe, out a little late, but they have, the 9-year-old with them. So they should have been coming home. You have someone that's more elderly. Um, and then everything happening that next morning. And your wife was probably, I mean, I couldn't even
Going
imagine.
crazy.
But like, did you go? And I just want to share this without you having, because like I said, I really appreciate you sharing this, but like the feelings that you had to go through, or how do you cope with? Because what I wanted to touch on too was, and forgive me, you off my voice goes out, um, is how people, get through things like this. And I know, I think they call it survivor's remorse and things like that.
Exactly.
You having to go through why was I, chosen to stay, and not feeling guilty about that. But I'm sure that your connection with God helped you to put things in perspective. But can you help people to kind of understand, I'm sure you're still going through some things and managing this, but just a little bit to help someone who may have gone through something like this, and they don't know how to manage it.
For me, honestly, the survivor's remorse has been the biggest thing.
Mm,
A lot of times it's hard to be happy to be alive.
okay.
Um, I just have to refocus and say, listen, if we truly believe in God, we're true believers, then we have to believe that He's perfect in His will, and He chose me for a reason. What reason? I don't. I mean, for this to share the story, because one thing I forgot, I said, I promised to Him. I said, if you deliver me from this situation, I will tell the world of your grace and mercy.
Mm,
So I owe Him that. I owe that debt for sure, which we all do, really and truly. But
absolutely.
so I don't have any problem sharing the story. I don't have any problem talk. It's actually therapeutic for me. Um, but for someone that's dealing with something like this, you have to stay in prayer. Which I jokingly say sometimes, like, "Oh, you probably tired of listening to me. You probably tired of hearing from me." But I go to him all the time because it's for me. He gave me such that what unexplainable peace that people talk about all the time. He gave me that on that boat that day, and
Mm,
I was able to, in my conversations with him, reconcile with a lot of things on the boat that day, because he was saying, I'm not going to save you in order for you to be messed up in the mind, because you're no good to anybody else. You can't um, you can't tell my story if you're all twisted and out of your mind. And I we have to really believe what we say we believe. We have to really believe what we've been taught. If we are going to say God can do anything and all that, you really have to believe that.
How about
Because
that?
mind you, I tried to be messed up. I really did. I'm like, because you've been trained. This is when this happens, this is how you react. When this happens, this is how you react. You know, when you lose somebody, you know, especially us, you know, you go crazy. You lose it. You're out of control. That shows the world how much, how traumatic, how traumatic or dramatic it really was. And um, I went to counseling several different times because everybody was like, "Oh, you got to go to counseling. Now, God, it's got to be traumatic." And I honestly don't feel traumatized because
Mm,
I truly feel that it depends on how you digest it. It depends on how you um, internalize the situation as to how it's going to affect you. I love telling people the story. I mean, I know it gets a little weird sometimes at parties. Sometimes people will come up, be like, want to talk about it. Then we're all in the corner crying and everything like that. But, but,
I
you
can see how that can happen.
and it happens quite often that I'm sitting there like looking around like this is a party, y'all. Um,
Well, your sense of
um,
humor with everything too is refreshing. But what with something that you just said, really is part of why this is so important because you said that, and I thought about all day long. People are talking about whether they're on podcasts like this, whether they're talking to their friends in church, wherever. People are always saying
mhm,
what they believe, what they learned, what you got to do. But if you truly and you tap right into if you truly don't believe what you're saying, that's where the
right,
problem lies. And it's kind of a test to, do you really believe what you're saying? If you say that you believe God will do this, God will do that, or there's a
right,
reason, and it makes you think about, when I think about times when I thought about, if are you ready when it's time, because you always say it's God's timing. But then we always question his timing, even though we say it's his timing, but then we're
right,
always questioning it or trying to take control of something that's not
right,
under our control. And when you tapped into whether we believe it or not, it made me think about, yeah, you really have to believe what you're saying,
right.
because then you will be challenged. And I
Mhm,
think that's when the hysterics come in. It just brings me back to when COVID hit, and I had that challenge because I was it messed me up. And I was just like, this couldn't possibly be the world we're living in right now. Like,
right.
what is going on here? And I lost it. It was just like,
Mhm,
wait a minute, and I was just panicking, and I had to really kind of pull back and say, hold up, wait a minute, because this ain't what you believe. So why are you
right,
responding that way? And I had to take several seats, because when you start to lose it like that, that means that you're not believing what you said you believe.
right, right,
So thank you for saying that, because I mean that was awakening for me, because I was like, okay, so Lisa, what you really been talking about all this time?
right,
Now you're not trusting him. You just going on your own understanding. This is
right,
crazy. I'm going to do this. Da, da, da. So that, and you stayed with him, um, and understand your role in whatever happened that day. It's amazing. I thank you for, telling this story, and sharing this with everybody. I mean, I'm hoping that at some point, because I know you all, we only have an hour to show, but this is bigger than that. The messages that can come out of your testimony and your journey. Um, I mean, I definitely want to, get you back to talk about what you just mentioned, and believing in what you say, and then acting on that. And the importance of, you said, I made a promise to him. Hey, y'all made a deal out there. So
right.
how do you go back? Or,
You
don't play
can't.
with that, right?
You can't.
You can.
You can't. I do. I know. I'm not.
I know that's right.
Because I know what he's capable of for sure.
That's right. You like, shoot, you go ahead, but
Yeah.
nah, I'm staying right here where he said, listen to me. I said, okay. Um,
Yeah.
I appreciate you. You don't know, this is and it takes a special kind of strength to be able to share this. Um, and it's helped me, and just understanding the value of life, the importance of just a simple conversation with God, whenever it may be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
and I think I mentioned to you when we talked that it's the little things now when you go through
Yeah.
something. And then it reminds people, you think you're going through something till you hear someone else's story. And then you're like, oh, well, I ain't gone through nothing. Because after
Right.
hearing what
Right.
you had gone through, I was like, oh, well, what am I complaining about? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So we gotta remember to be grateful. Like you had said, you were thinking about, you didn't have this or this wasn't right or whatever, but then in an instant, you're thinking about all these wonderful
Right.
things that you want to get to, that at first you didn't even think it was important or it wasn't a big deal. And we take life for granted, we take our loved ones for
We
granted.
do.
We just always assume that they're going to be there, to fix whatever is not right today. And that's not always the case.
Right. Right. And I mean, something as simple as like, because he and I, my cousin Fernandez and I were really close, and I'd actually just oh, that's Donnie's comment, my wife's comment.
Yeah, she said our 12-year-old son had faith and complete trust in God that his dad would be okay. He asked if they were lost, and I said yes. And our son said, well, I prayed for him and he'll be okay. He never doubted that his dad would come home. And that to me is powerful, in that you never know who's praying for you while you're in the midst of something. So that just suggests to me that you ain't by yourself anyway, because it's the multitude of prayers, that you will never even know, that helped you to get through something, because
And that's
God
the
was
one that
talking to
makes me
several
cry.
people at the same time. It was like, okay, yeah, me and you having a conversation, but I'm having a conversation with your son too.
Yeah,
And I
that's
know that touched you. Yeah,
man, that was
that's deep.
because all I could think of was like, I got to get home to them. I got
Yes,
to get home to them. And
absolutely.
for me, it was the first time that I feel like my faith was really and truly tested.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize that's what was happening at the time. You know, it didn't just pop into my head and say, oh, you're being tested right now.
Right.
Which is probably why he spoke to me, because had I, thought otherwise, he probably wouldn't have been, it would have been genuine. And I found out after, that's when it dawned on me like days later, because I'm telling you, when I got in the hospital, first thing I did was ask for
No,
my
you got me. Look, y'all not gonna get me crying on here before we say goodbye, but it's too late. It's too late. But go ahead.
and I'm trying to explain. I'm googling everything to try to explain what those angels were. Was there any? I'm thinking maybe it was some type of attraction in the area that had like small aircraft or something like that. And one of the nurses came over, and I guess she had seen what I was googling or whatever, and she just put her hand on my hand and said, "You know what that was, right?" And she closed the. I had like a little leather cover, and she closed it, and she said, "You know what that was, right?" Like basically saying, "Stop looking for it to be something other than."
Stop looking. You already got
Yeah.
the answer, right?
And it's still tough a lot of times, because it wasn't supposed to be me. It's always supposed to be somebody else that had these, great stories. Because I'm not like no Bible thumper, no holy roller. I know the word, and all that type of stuff. But I'm not somebody that's trying to be a pastor, or get like be in the forefront of this thing. It wasn't supposed to be me.
Well,
It
but it
wasn't
was.
supposed to be me. Yeah.
But it was. And it doesn't take somebody who knows every scripture. I used to think like that too. Like, there were so
Yeah.
many people were so versed with the Bible, so I always thought maybe I wasn't as saved as someone else, or is this and you start to question yourself, and then you start to real. But when you go through something, then you realize, oh, it's all of us on whatever level we're. I mean, he talking to this person this way, he talking to this person this way, so he's communicating with all of us, and we're
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
so but you always kind of compare it to someone else's walk. Um, but I want to thank you so much for sharing this. We've had some great thank you to your wife. She was also in a conversation yesterday, and like I said, we talked like we had known each other for years. And what I can say is that the faith and trust in God that even your children have at 12 years old is means that mom and dad are doing the right thing, because they're grown folk who haven't got there yet. And this is just a reminder, which I think that the state that the world has been in lately is a reminder for us to get it together. Um,
Right.
just to get it together. We it's too much going on, and we need to get right um, with him in whatever ways that means for you. Nobody can. That's between you and him. But let's just get it together. Um, I want to thank you. I want to also invite you back to talk about some things that you gained from this and that you actually, as you share your story, because I know this is not the first time you've shared this story. So thank you for sharing it with my listeners. Excuse me, y'all. Um, I thank you so much.
You're
And
very
I
welcome. My
have
pleasure.
absolutely. And if anybody, I don't know if you have any contact information for people who want to reach out to you. They possibly want to, have you on their platform to share. Do you have some information you could share?
Honestly, I only thing I have is like Facebook. I think is Robert Bobby Stewart on Facebook, and I forget what it. I really have not just been out there like that, other than But if they want to reach out to me on Facebook, we can share personal information and things like that. I'm trying to get where you are. I'm trying to get uh,
Right.
established, uh, which I have not, and that's my fault or my
No,
where I
look, we just
lack
and it's
at.
God's time, and we are here for you to help you with that. But I thank you. I think this will bless many people as you begin to share your story and what you gained as far as clarity in your life and your family. It is. I said I wasn't going to get emotional when I heard you saying that you go to parties and you're like, hey, there's supposed to be a party. But it really start when it touches you, like you get you get what was really happening there. It just wasn't
Mhm.
the surface story that you're telling. It's just some really deep and powerful messages and things there. And I think that it does need to be continue to be shared. We have a guest that said they hadn't heard many people talk about survivor's remorse, but it's real, and God is in control,
It is
has a
very
plan for
real.
every situation. Remorse is natural extension of grief, but continue to share your story was one of the guests that tuned in. So what I wanted to do, because I know we're a little past time, is to and we would definitely reach out to us if you'd like to reach out to Robert, his wife, and would like to maybe have him on your platform to share this wonderful. So that's why I thought this was really good for the season. It really does touch on the reason for this season and getting more connected. Um, yeah, we need to get it together and get closer to him and recognize,
Right.
why this is the why. And we get away from that sometimes, not
Right.
intentionally. But this is kind of a way to kind of kick you in the butt and say, okay, let's get
Yeah.
back to the real, what we really supposed to be doing from day to day. Um,
Right.
in our everyday life with your neighbors, with your family,
Right.
and just with yourself. So I thank you for the reminder to me. But we have a TikTok moment that we do at the end of every show that I think will tap into what you mentioned as far as um, the conversation you had with God and how you have to speak things. And you would determine like I'm gonna get through this, and you're gonna help
Right.
me get through this. Because a lot of times they tell you need to ask him for what you want. He just waiting on you.
Right.
So we're gonna go into a TikTok moment and then come back and say goodbye to everybody. But I'm thinking that this might be relative to what we talked about, but in general, a good message to take you into the holidays and into the weekend, into the new year. So let's have a TikTok moment and then we'll come back and say goodbye.
The enemy can only go on what's spoken. He doesn't have the Holy Ghost, so he can't discern. So he only knows what to attack if you say it. That's why the Bible tells us to confess. I am healed. I'm the head and not the tail. I'm above and not beneath. Greater is he that's in me than he that's in the world. Even if you don't fully believe it, just speak it. It confuses the enemy. Even if tears are coming down your face, speak the word. Even when it hurts, speak the word. When it makes no sense, speak the word.
That was just a little TikTok moment that I thought, really kind of matched just the messages that we've been talking about today. Um, and you did that. A lot of times people get in situations and they give up and they start calling it what they think it is.
Right.
And you didn't do that.
I
You did
honestly tried to make it not be not be that, because
what it was, right?
it wasn't supposed to be me. It was just wasn't supposed to be me,
Right.
And yeah, I thank you for having me. Really do,
Absolutely.
because for me it's therapeutic for me. Because there's a lot more that went on. I mean, found out later I had a heart attack out there. I burned out like 80% of the muscle in my body.
Oh, wow.
My creatinine levels should have killed more, probably 10 times what was supposed to kill a person.
Mm,
Um, and my doctor said, I can tell you right now 4 ways that you should be dead right now. So I just want people to know he is still in the miracle working business. And
absolutely.
like I talked about last night, we have to recognize even the small miracles. Everything is not going to be like what happened to me, but we have to. I found myself giving credit other places for things that were happening good in my life instead of giving him the credit. I
Okay.
was robbing him of his glory for so many years
Absolutely.
on so many different things. Um, but again, thank you for having me. I don't want to.
Absolutely. We're gonna have you back hopefully if you're good with it.
Whenever
But
you're ready.
yeah, I thank God for even this moment. Um, to touch somebody in another way. I know there's plenty things that we can talk about, fun and all that stuff, but there is a moment when you got to get back to what we really should be tapping into. And this is one of those moments for me. This whole month has been that. So I want to thank Donna too for connecting us. And like I said, this
Hey,
won't be
Donna.
the last time. Thank you, Donna. I know she's tuned in. And we look forward to, so I did want to say we look forward to everyone joining us back on Lunchin with Lisa come February. But this actually this is our last show until 2023. And so we wanted to actually wish everybody a wonderful, wonderful holiday season. I know it seems early in the month, but it's really not. This is going to go really fast. But I chose to as my team has told me before, take several seats. I want all of us to take several seats and enjoy this time with your families. And like I said, enjoy the real reason for the season and all the other stuff too. But just, a reminder that God is still, like you said, He's present always through anything. And it's time for us to get that connection with Him and learn how to talk to Him and hear Him. um, so thank you again, Rob. And we look forward to joining y'all in the new year. So until 2023, Luncheon with Lisa says happy holidays, happy new year, and we'll see y'all next year. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye, y'all.